so you want to be a truck driver. I see. I see. Well, what is my opinion on that? Well, I would tell you to just go for it. The reason I would tell you to go for it is because this is a job that pays a really good salary without demanding you to go to school for 4, 5, 6 years, getting a ton of student loan debt, and have to worry about paying all that back plus interest. You don't have to worry about that when you're in trucking. The prices of schools, they really vary as well, between $4,000 and $8,000 to $10,000. Actually, it's probably less. There's probably schools out there for a couple of grand, actually. And then, of course, you can go sign on with a company and they'll pay for your CDL. But then you have to work for them for like a year or whatever their contract states that you'll have to sign. Yeah, okay. So you're looking at being an over-the-road truck driver? Okay. Now, if I'm being honest with you, I don't really think that over-the-road is particularly worth it nowadays unless you are doing it with a goal in mind. You're doing it with a goal to save as much money as possible. And let me tell you, if you go to yard, you can save as much money as possible because you can pretty much live in the truck. That's what many over-the-road drivers do. They just live in the truck. Don't have to worry about some $1,200-$1,300 rent payment, $1,500 rent payment, and this bill and that bill. You can keep your bills to a minimum and save as much money as possible being over the road. Is that something that you would be interested in? Yeah. Okay. You trying to save as much money as possible? Yeah. Times are tough out here. The lower your overhead, the better. I definitely agree with that. When your overhead is high with bills and everything, it makes it harder to save, and it'll take longer to save more money. You can save more money faster by just being on the road, living on the road. Only thing about being over the road is you have to worry about quality of life. You have to remember, living in a truck is not the same as living in an apartment or a house or whatever. Because in the truck, there's no restroom, there's no shower. You gotta stop to do all those things. There's no sink. You don't have any of that stuff. Now, the new trucks nowadays, they come with a TV mount, so you can mount a small TV to the truck. They come with a small little fridge, freezer. They also come with a spot to put a microwave in if you want to put a microwave in the truck. But that's just a newer truck, so if you're to do it, make sure they have a truck that has all of those things at least. But yeah, it's definitely a lifestyle change. You're not gonna see your friends as much. You're not gonna see your family as much, right? Because a lot of times you're staying out at least 3 weeks to a month if you're over the road. Especially if you're running all 48 states, all the lower 48 states. You're not going to see your family as much. And you have to really ask yourself, is that something that'll affect you? Oh, I see. So you don't live close to your family anyway. Okay. And you say you don't have that many friends. Well, I think you should be all right. Um, I think that you will definitely benefit from not having to pay any sort of like rent or anything like that because you basically live in a truck. Now, the thing is, how long are you planning on doing over the road truck driving? 1 year? That's about what many people do. They'll get an over the road trucking and save money for approximately a year. Sometimes they do 2 years, and I've heard of some guys that have used that money to go put a down payment on a house. Now, you can't tell me that's not a smart idea. They saved up a lot of money fast, and now, because of the sacrifice they made in being on the road, they were able to save up enough for a house. I mean, I'll be honest, that's impressive. Can't tell me that's not impressive. Yep. It sure is. But the reality about over the road trucking too is that you're going to have to drive in different weather conditions, different traffic conditions. You always got to be paying attention. You always have to be alert. You can't be, halfway alert trying to drive an 18-wheeler. That is very, very bad. So, you want to make sure you're somebody that is able to stay alert for many hours at a time. Now, of course, you can take breaks and stuff like that, but still, I mean, you got to be able to drive for at least a couple hours without stopping. You don't want to be stopping every hour, because if you stop every hour, you're not going to be efficient. And the company you work for, they're going to realize, okay, you're not an efficient person. This person stops every hour. Why are you stopping every hour? That's what they're going to ask you. Why are you stopping every hour? You want to be efficient when you're being an over-the-road truck driver. Even if you're an owner-operator, you don't want to be a person that stops like every hour, You want to be a person that is efficient. You see? Yep. That's pretty much what it is. That's what it's about. I want to make that money and get out of it. Maybe get a regional, local job and be home every weekend, home every few days, home every day. That's how you do it, yeah. Well, Home Daily, yeah, those jobs are out there, but I'll tell you about Home Daily. Home Daily trucking jobs, they're harder to find. Well, I mean, good ones are harder to find. They're out there, but there's a lot of local jobs that just don't pay that much. $20 an hour, $21 an hour. I would not advise you drive an 18-wheeler for $20 an hour. That is just not enough. That is not going to cover your bills in many places. $20 an hour. And even if it does, that's still not enough. Yeah. But they're out there, There's some local trucking jobs that pay $30 an hour, $35 an hour. They're out there. Let me tell you, they're out there. Okay. Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. I don't know. But no, I just, Regional is good because you're home every weekend, though. So if you want to do over the road, then maybe you get tired of it after a few months or so. You can switch over to regional, or you can switch over to a dedicated account where you're picking up and delivering for the same customer, right? So dedicated accounts can be good in trucking too. A lot of times your schedule is more consistent. A lot of times you have a more set schedule, not a perfect set schedule, but your schedule is more set and more structured, I'd say. Yeah, I think you would like that too. Yeah, I think you would like that. So how do you plan on getting a CDL? Oh, you're going to enroll yourself in a CDL school? Well, that's one of the best ways to do it. I'll tell you what, make sure it is a CDL school where you learn how to drive a manual. Because when you learn to drive a manual 18-wheeler, at least a 10-speed manual, you open yourself up to a lot more trucking options versus a person that can only drive an automatic truck. Now, I will tell you, if you decide you just want to go for an automatic, it's not going to hurt you quite as much as it used to as far as trucking job choices, but I would just go for the manual, even though more than likely your first company will probably have you driving an automatic truck. Because a lot of these companies that hire new people, they don't put them straight in a manual truck, 10-speed manual, 13-speed manual, 18-speed manual. I don't think a lot of companies run 18-speed manual trucks though, but a lot of the companies that do still have manuals are usually just 10-speed manuals. Sometimes they'll have 13-speed manuals, but a lot of them nowadays they just run an automatic truck. And the reason why the switch has been made over to automatic trucks is because automatic trucks nowadays get better fuel economy, which helps the company save money, which helps the company bring in more profit. Everything is profit driven at the end of the day. Trucking is no different. Yeah, I told you, that's capitalism. But you know what? Automatic trucks, I mean, let's be honest, they are easier to drive. All you gotta do all you gotta do is turn the truck on, push the yellow and red knob in. Sometimes it's either a twist knob or it's a button or it's a little shifter where you shift where you shift the truck from neutral to drive, or you shift the truck from neutral to reverse. It's literally it. Now, I think some trucks have manual modes, but if they do, I've never really used them. I never use like manual mode. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of trucks nowadays are automatics. There's nothing wrong with it. It still gets the job done. It makes the learning curve of this job a bit simpler. Although it's still not an easy job at the end of the day, because you have to learn how to back an 18-wheeler. Got to learn how to turn, switch lanes. Got to learn that you're not going to have the same stopping distance as a car. You're going to need more stopping distance. Truck doesn't move as fast as a car, doesn't accelerate as fast. People are going to be impatient. People are going to honk at you. Are you ready for that type of stress? Because as a new driver, it will stress you out. When you have years of experience, it won't stress you out. But when you're not experienced in knowing what people will do around 18 wheelers, what cars will do around 18 wheelers, it can stress you out. Yeah, it can stress you out. So just get ready. Get ready for the stress. Get ready to deal with having trouble finding parking too. That's something I have to talk to you about as well. In the United States of America, there's a pretty big parking shortage as far as truck parking. Now, the government said that they were actually going to do something about this, but when they say they're going to do something, don't have your hopes up high. Just accept the fact that during your time out on the road, there is going to be a pretty big parking shortage, and you will have to learn to deal with that. Now, one of the ways to help your situation out in that regard would be to find truck parking early. I'm talking maybe 4 o'clock. You just got to get up early and put those miles in early. But sometimes that can be kind of difficult to do or difficult to time, because when you get to a customer, you might have to wait 3, 4, 5 hours to get unloaded or to get loaded. And so that kind of throws you off. But if you have a cross-country trip that you have to make, it's a bit easier to kind of time yourself. You know, you get done 4, maybe 5. You want to be parked by 4 or 5. Because after that, you're going to have a harder time unless you are very far from any like big cities and you're off of any like main interstates, right? If you're far from any big metropolitan city, you'll be fine. But the closer you are to a metropolitan city, the harder it is to find parking. You go to any big metropolitan city, their truck stop is going to be not as clean. There's going to be a lot of issues there as far as crime and just different things you got to deal with. And of course, it's going to be very crowded because there's not a lot of truck parking in a big city. Now, you go to some of the industrial areas, you might find parking, but it's not the same because you don't have access to a restroom, you don't have access to a shower, you don't have access to food. Although truck stop food isn't as healthy anyway. But that's why a lot of people in the big city, they just prefer a truck stop. But there's not enough parking for the amount of trucks that come through a city at the truck stops. If I'm being honest with you, I try to avoid like big city truck stops anyway. They're just so, you deal with a lot of issues there. You rather come out to a truck stop like the one we're at now, where you can, not worry about the crime and the issues. Obviously, you want to lock your doors and be safe and everything, and things can happen anywhere. But in my experience, the truck stops in the inner city are usually bad. There's a lot of bad people. There's a lot of crime going on. There's a lot of just nonsense going on at a lot of the big city, inner city truck stops. And I'd have to get more in depth into that later on with you. But I'm telling you, some of the stuff I've seen at some of these big truck stops, it's ridiculous, right? Oh yeah. Yeah. But it's a good career. You just have to be motivated, especially if you're on the road, over the road. You have to be very motivated to be over the road, right? And I think you'll do fine. Yeah. But we're at this big truck stop now. Let me show you the inside of this truck stop here and kind of give you some pointers, okay? Follow me.